the market waters to get eaten by the sharks. Now, I have this tweet here, Max. VIX has been sitting near or below 12 for 2 weeks. The last time this happened was in 2007. So everything seems calm, the water seems calm, so you feel quite confident that it's safe to get into the waters and go swim in the markets.
Right, well, those markets go higher. There's an incentive by people making money in these markets to do whatever they can to manipulate the markets so that it's easier for them to make more and more money. So money aggregation tends to make people greedier. People are not satisfied when they are making or accumulating large amounts of wealth. It increases their greed and paranoia and fear. That's one of the tragedies of wealth, I guess you could call it, is that it doesn't give them any release from fear. It actually increases their fear and paranoia. And so they go whatever they can to make it impossible for anyone to encroach on their ill-gotten gains. So they'll manipulate the VIX, they'll manipulate the markets, they'll buy politicians, they'll buy David Cameron, they'll buy Barack Obama. They'll do whatever it takes to protect themselves until such point as the whole thing explodes. So, I mean, there's a famous line in Jaws where the fishermen on the boat, one of them says, "We're going to need a bigger boat." I mean, this is what the European Central Bank has told the market, that the fraud is so enormous at this point that in order to accommodate another 10 to 15 trillion dollars worth of credit default swaps and derivatives, essentially fraud, they're going to expand their balance sheet by 10 to 15 trillion euros. They need a bigger boat to float on this ocean of fraud. Meanwhile, there's the killer white shark, ready to jump up like it did in 2007, 2008, like it did in .com in 2001, like it did in Asia in 1996, like it did on Wall Street in 1987. There's always a reversion to the mean. There's always nature exerting itself. There's always the killer white shark. It's here. It's coming. It's breaking surface.
Yes, in fact, we're going to go over those exact moments you mentioned. But I want to mention, you know, when those crashes happen, it's like a feeding frenzy. Great fortunes are made by the giant white sharks of the markets. Think of this last crash that we had in 2007 and 2008. John Paulson made billions and billions of dollars on the collapse. Very few, like destroying all the wealth of the long, peaceful period beforehand.
Well, they say markets go up a staircase and down an elevator shaft. You know, they go up, 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 and then down the shaft it goes. There were a few participants that made money on that collapse, John Paulson being one of them. But remember, there was a $5 to $6 to $7 trillion wiped off the face of the market. Just as back in 2000, there was a $5 trillion wipeout of NASDAQ, and stock market crash of 1987 was a multi-hundred billion trillion dollar wipeout. So there was real wealth being destroyed. Yes, there are a few people that are able to position themselves to make money on the crash, and of course, throughout history, you have people who position themselves and then cause the crash.
Now, I mentioned the word chumming, and I want to go into that in order to highlight what is about to happen, perhaps, in the markets, should this done-up moment happen. Well, chumming is the practice of luring animals, kind of like humans, usually fish, such as sharks, by throwing chum into the water. Chum is bait consisting of fish parts and blood, which attract fish, particularly sharks, owing to their keen sense of smell. So we're being attracted, pulled into the markets by the chumming, which is the rigging of Forex markets, which is the rigging of LIBOR, which is the rigging of gold fix, to make everything seem safe, that there are no great whites, there's no jaws lurking below the surface. And just so you know, because I know you think the Brits make funny words for everything, they call chumming, they call it here rubby-dubby, for some reason.
What is wrong with the Brits? Rubby-dubby? Why does everything have to sound like baby talk? I got my Raleigh and my Wellies and my rubby-dubby. It's because they're all subject to the Queen. They all want to be with the Queen, so mommy, mommy, mommy. It's too bad, man. This country needs to grow up.
Well, in many parts of the world, rubby-dubby, or as we call it, chumming, is illegal because it attracts these sharks. So I want to look at one of the recent illegal activities of rigging markets, and that's LIBOR. This new LIBOR scandal will cause a terrifying financial crisis. And this is from Jesse Colombo. And he says, yes, there was a rigging LIBOR, and yes, they stole tens of billions of dollars. But it's creating the ultra-low LIBOR rates, which have been low for the longest period ever in history. If you look back at the chart that he gives us, you see Japanese bubble and bust, Asians economic miracle and crisis, dot-com bubble and bust, U.S. and European housing market bubble and bust, and the current lowest LIBOR right now. So all of those busts were preceded by ultra-low LIBOR rates, and then everything, people were secured to get into the water. They thought it was safe to get into the water, and they got eaten by the predator on Wall Street.
Well, you had a really good example of that under the Clinton administration.